Assalamu alaikum students. Welcome back to the third week of Introduction to Mathematics. This is Unit 3.1. The week 3 will be focusing on equations and the formation of equations. We'll be looking at linear equations and how to form. First, we'll learn to understand what are these linear equations, and then we'll move on. But there are some prerequisites to that, which is one of them, which is unit 3.1, and that is absolute value representations. So we'll be looking at what this is, right? So what is absolute value? The absolute value of a number is its distance from zero on a real number line. Now, I'm sure you must have studied right by now the number line in the inequalities. So the distance of, so for example, if I want to find out the absolute value of the number 5, I'm basically asking for the distance between the number 0 and the number 5 on a number line, right? So this distance can either be 0 or greater than 0, but it can never be less than 0. So this is what your number line, a real number line looks like. And let's suppose I am asking that I want to find out the absolute value of 5. So what is the distance between the number 5 and the number 0? It's actually 5, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? So the absolute value of 5 is 5, right? But let's suppose I want to find out the absolute value of the number minus 5. Now again, we will be taking the distance from the 0, right? So the distance of minus 5 from the number 0 is again what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's still 5, right? So the absolute value of 5 is also 5, and the absolute value of minus 5 is also 5. The absolute value of the number x is basically denoted by this symbol. So if you see this is basically just the number 5. But if you see this, two lines, and in both of these lines there's the number between them, this means I'm asking the absolute value of the number 5, or in such cases the absolute value of x, right? For example, if I'm writing the absolute value of 3, we are looking for the distance on the number line between the number 3 right here and the number 0. It's right here. This distance is 3 units, isn't it? 1 unit, 2 unit, 3 unit. So this is 3. So absolute value of 3 is 3. Similarly, minus 3 is also 3 units away. The absolute value of minus 3 is also 3, as the distance between the number minus 3 and 0 is also 3, right? 1, 2, 3. So minus 3, the absolute value of minus 3 is also 3. It's convenient to think of absolute signs or absolute values as basically only positive values, right? So if you have a positive number, let's say absolute value of 6, it's going to be 6, right? But if some negative number, let's suppose minus 7, it will become, you can think of it like this, it will become positive 7. But it's not true to say that it is positive, but you can think of it like this, right? Now we look at some of the properties of absolute values. The absolute value of a again here is a variable and it can be any number, right? So what this, the first property, what this is telling us is that the absolute value of any number is always greater than 0 or it is equal to 0, right? So like if I have the absolute value of minus 5, the absolute value of minus 5 is basically 5, right? And 5 is greater than or equal to 0, right? So this condition checks out. What about the absolute value of 10? The absolute value of 10 is 10 itself. So it is also greater than 0. What about the absolute value of 0? The absolute value of 0 is 0, which is, and it still fulfills this condition. It is either greater than or equal to 0, right? So this is the first property, that the absolute value of any number will be greater than or equal to 0. The next property is that the absolute value of a negative number is the same as the absolute value of the same positive number. Like for example, if we have minus 4 with us, if it is the same, the absolute value of minus 4 is 4, and the absolute value of 4 is also 4, right? So the absolute value of minus 4 is the same as the absolute value of plus 4, which is 4. Okay, so this is the second property. The third property is basically the absolute value of x minus y is the same as the absolute value of y minus x. So, for instance, I'm sure you must know by now that 3 minus 2 is not the same as 2 minus 3, because if I do 3 minus 2, I get 1. But if I do 2 minus 2, 2 minus 3, I get minus 1. But the thing here in this case is that the absolute value, the absolute value of 3 by 2 is the same as the absolute value of 2 minus 3. 3 minus 2, not 3 by 2, I'm sorry. So the absolute value of 3 by minus 2 is what? It's positive 1, the absolute value of positive 1, and the absolute value of 2 minus 3 is minus 1, and again the absolute value. So this is 1 and this is again 1, right? So this is what this property is trying to tell us. And similarly, we have these two more properties, properties 4 and 5, which are pretty much self-explanatory. Okay. So solving with absolute values, like what if we have this absolute sign in an equation, right? So how we're supposed to do with this? So suppose we are asked to solve the absolute value of x is 4. How do we proceed with this? So if we were given like any other normal equation, if it was x equals to 4, not the absolute value of x, but just x equals to 4, then there was no need to solve it, as the value of x is already highlighted. We already know that the value of x is 4. But if we're given this, the absolute value of x is equals to 4, we cannot say that the value of x is 4, because it is either 4 or minus 4. Let's put it this way, like I'll substitute the number 4 in place of x, right? What do I get? The number 4. So this checks out. 4 can be an answer. Now I'll put minus 4 as well. Now again, the absolute value of minus 4 is 4 itself. So this again checks out. So we cannot say that the absolute, like in this case, x equals to 4, we can say the value of x is 4. But if we are asked the absolute value of x is 4, we cannot say that it's the value of x is 4. X can be 4 or minus 4, okay? Obviously, we won't get such easy questions, but this is the basic concept, right? So using this logic, let's see how to solve with absolute values by looking at some examples, right? So, sorry, right? So I'm asked to solve this equation. The absolute value of x minus 5 is equals to 3. Now I've already told you that let's suppose if I have the absolute value of x is equals to 4, this means that x is either equals to plus 4 or minus 4, right? This plus minus indicates that it's either plus 4 or minus 4. So using that same logic, we will say that x minus 5 is equals to either plus 3 or minus 3, right? That is, x minus 5 is either equals to 3 plus 3, or x minus 5 is either equal to minus 3, right? And we'll solve both of these simultaneously. We'll take minus 5 to the other side, or basically we'll be adding 5 to both sides, and we'll get x equals to 8, right? And here we'll be adding 5 to the other side as well, and we'll get x equals to 2, because this is minus 3, and minus 3 plus 5 gives me plus 2, right? So we have two values, x equals to 8 and x equals to 2. Had this been just a normal question, if it was something like x minus 5 equals to 3, there would have been only one question and one solution, x equals to 8, right? But when we have this absolute sign, we will have more than one value. We will have usually two values, right? This right here is done to we've substituted these values back into this original equation, and we found out that the result is correct, right? So we take up another example. This is the question. The absolute value of 10 minus 2x is equals to the absolute value of x plus 5. Now what is different over here? Notice that the absolute sign is on both sides, which means that they are either equal signs or opposite signs. So how do we proceed with this? We take away the absolute sign over here. We say 10 minus 2x, and we say it's either equals to plus x plus 5, or it's either equals to minus x plus 5, okay? Because they're either equal signs or they're opposite signs, right? So be careful, this plus or minus, this goes on to this whole term, not just on the x and not just on the 5, it goes on x plus 5, the whole bracket, right? So we'll have to solve against, we'll branch off into two solutions, this or this, and we'll solve simultaneously. So either 10 minus 2x is equals to positive x plus 5, this is how we're solving it, or 10 minus 2x is equals to my negative of x plus 5. Okay, when you solve this, you get the value of x as 5 by 3. This may be a little small for you to see, but this is x equals to 5 by 3, and this is x equals to 15. So again, we have two values, and this is how you're supposed to solve when you have the absolute sign on both the sides of the equation. Okay, right. Now, what we were doing just now, we were solving equations with absolute values. What if we get inequalities with absolute values, right? So for example, solve the inequality, the absolute value of x is less than 4. So what does this mean? What if you were to try, if you would try to understand this statement, this means that the distance from 0 to some number x, right, it should be less than 4. This is what this is trying to say, right? That we need a number x, we need to find what that number x is, first of all. So we need that number x, and the distance between that number and the number 0, it has to be less than 4, right? So because absolute value of x represents the distance of x from 0 on a real number 9, the solution to this inequality consists of all real numbers with distance from 0 on a real number 9 less than 4, right? So, so basically how you're supposed to solve such types of cases, you go that, okay, if you need to find out the value of x, yeah, that, you know, in such cases, you write minus 4 x 4, right? You write minus 4 on this side and you write plus 4 on this side, and there's an x in the middle. This is how you're supposed to solve the absolute value of x is less than 4, right? So what this is telling you basically that your number x has to be between minus 4 and 4, right? Because let's suppose if we are on number minus 3, right? So the minus, let's put this value of minus 3 over here. Minus 3 is the absolute value of minus 3 is what? It's 3, and 3 is less than 4, right? So this condition checks out. Let's suppose if you were to say minus 5, right? This is obviously not the answer, but the absolute value of minus 5 is, is, is 5, right? And is it less than 4? No, it's not, right? So this condition is false. So this is how you're supposed to solve these inequalities. Let's take up another case. Basically, what we're saying is solve the absolute value of x has to be greater than or equals to 2. Basically, we need to find the number where the distance between the number 0 on the number line and that certain number, it has to be greater than 2, right? ऐसा नंबर हमने फाइंड करना है जहां पे जिसका 0 से डिस्टेंस जो है वो 2 से ज्यादा हो, ठीक है? तो लेट्स सपोज अगर मैं कहता हूँ 1, तो 0 और 1 के बीच में डिस्टेंस क्या है? 1, राइट? एंड 2 से ज्यादा नहीं है 1, राइट? सो व्हाट अबाउट द नंबर, लेट्स सपोज 4, ठीक है? तो 4 and 0 distance 4 hoga, and it is greater than, and obviously greater than 2, so we can select 4, right? So basically there is some logical thinking involved in this. The values of x which satisfy this inequality consist of all real numbers located 2 or more units from 0 on a number line, right? So 2 or more units is this 2, and 2 or more units on the left side is minus 2, right? And we need the value of x, the absolute value of x, to be greater than 2, right? So the distance has to be either 2, it has to be equal to 2 or greater than 2, right? So all the values to the right side of plus 2 and all the values to the left side of minus 2, all these values have a distance greater than 2 from the number 0, right? So the answer in this case is all the values x is either less than or equal to minus 2, or x is either greater than or equal to 2. Okay, then these are some important examples. The absolute value of 7x is to be greater than or equals to 21. So let me just try to draw, I'll just try to draw a number line here real quick, right? And this is the number 0, right? So first of all, I need you to understand what I'm, what the thought process is. 7x has to be greater than 21 or equal to 21, right? So the distance between the distance between the number 0 and 7x, I'll call this 7x as, let's suppose, some number a, right? So the distance between the number 0 on the number line and the number a has to be greater than or equal to 21. So if you've understood the previous problems, you will see that if this is 21 and this is minus 21, so this number a again is not x, a is 7x, right? So it's easier to think of it as 7x or a, right? So 7x has to be, the distance has to be greater than 21, right? So all my values will be right either on this side, greater than 21, 21, 22, 23, or less than minus 21, right? These are the range of values, right? So the range of values are either 7x is less than minus 21, right? So the numbers on the left side of minus 21, they're less than 21, right? So 7x is less than or equal to minus 21, or 7x, you can call it a or some number, or 7x, right? Or 7x is greater than or equal to 21. Again, this is not the answer. The values greater than 21, the values are smaller than minus 21. This is not the answer. The answer is when you solve for x, right? And now you divide both sides by the number 7, you get x is less than equals to minus 3, or x is greater than equal to 3. Okay, so basically your answer is somewhere over here, minus 3 plus 3. Your answer is all the values greater than 3 and all the values is smaller than minus 3. So these two lines, this is your answer in this case. Next up, we'll take up another example and I'll try to solve it using the same way. Again, I'll draw a number line, and this is the number 0. 0 is right in the middle, right? So what we want here is that we have this certain expression, 5x plus 3. It's not important what the expression is. What you need to realize in the first step is that the distance between this certain number and 0 has to be less than 7, right? Less than 7. So we'll take the number minus 7 here and plus 7 here. Okay, so the distance has to be less than 7. So like it has to be within this range or it has to be within this range, right? So either this 5x plus 3, it is greater than minus 7, or either this 5x plus 3, it is less than plus 7, right? So how are we supposed to write this? We're supposed to write this as 5x plus 3 is greater than minus 7. Or again, this or is very important, 5x plus 3 is less than plus 7, right? Remember, this is plus 7. Or now what you have to do is you just have to solve it. Take this 3 to the other side, and what you get, I'll just do it quicker. 3 goes over here, so x is basically greater than minus 2, right? It's either that or x is less than, so minus 3 is 4, 4 by 5. So these are your answers, not this. This is not the answer. Your answer is basically x is greater than minus 2. So minus 2 if it's something right over here, and x is less than 4 by 5. 4 by 5 is somewhere over here. It's 0.8, right? So your answers are basically this. This is your answer. It has to be greater than minus 2 and it has to be less than 4 by 5. So this range is your range of answers. Okay, so this is what absolute values are and how they can be found in some inequalities and in some equations, and this is how you're supposed to solve them. I would recommend to go through the book, your book as well, and see the example questions. It will be better, and you have to go through these practice questions as well to make sure that you understand this entire concept. This is a list of some helping material. There are many links from Khan Academy, and you can just check them out and see all the videos, and they will definitely help you out in this concept. I will see you in the next lecture. Thank you.